Welcome, and thanks for watching Her Story. Her Story stands for Heroic, Eloquent, Resilient, and Relentless Women. This is a platform that was created to help empower women in telling their stories while empowering others to share their stories as well.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Her Story. I want to thank all the viewers who tuned in to the first episode. I really appreciate your support. And if you haven't done so, go ahead and like, subscribe, follow Her Story, hashtag Her Story. All right, guys, we're here for our second episode of Her Story. Again, I want to thank you for all of your support. I think it's very important. Her story is very important to me because as I talk to women across the country, I hear the same stories over and over again. I hear the same stories that are similar to my story and situations that I'd previously been in. And so in essence, their stories are my stories. My story is their story. So God just kept showing me, tell your story, tell your story. So God just revealed to me that there are so many women that can't tell their stories, that don't have the courage to open up and tell their stories, and for me to be that voice. So I'm here as that voice to help encourage and empower other women to tell their stories and help release some of this pain and just break these chains that's been holding us back from being the best us that we could possibly be, reaching our best and highest potential that we could possibly be. So in saying that, I'm going to share pieces of my story with you. I have 40-something years of a story to tell, but I believe it's also important to understand and know who I am in telling my story. There are a lot of people who do know me, but most do not. I'm Rochellle Thompson. I was born in New Orleans, raised in Slidell. My parents were married and together up until I was about 7, maybe 8 years old. Then they split up. I'm the oldest of 4 children. I have 2 younger sisters, 1 brother, younger brother. We were raised on a piece of land that my dad had bought before him and my mom married, and they built a house on it, which we were raised in, and then they built 2 other houses later on. So my childhood was filled with a lot of building and construction and landscaping and all that good stuff. Being the oldest of 4 kids, I always been that mature mother figure, in control, get it done type person. Let's just say I always wanted to look out for my brother and sisters, and I wanted to know that they was okay. And so there was some discipline in that. My brother says, girl, you always been grown. You always been mama. You know, so that's the type of personality that I have. I was an honor roll student growing up in school, and my teachers always told me that I can be and do anything I wanted to. And I believe that. I believe that. And so I always had that confidence to try anything, to just, hey, I can do anything. Anything I want to do, anybody I want to be, I can be that. So I pretty much tried a lot of things that I thought I was big and bad enough to try. All those things weren't always successful. However, in saying that, honor roll student in school, I spent a lot of time at home because I was the oldest. My mom wasn't really concerned about my academics because I had responsibilities at home. So I had to spend a lot of time at home with my grandma and raising my sisters, because my brother, he's just a year younger than I am, and he was doing him. He playing outside, he doing boy stuff. So it was just me, my grandma, and my sisters at home most of the time. So I didn't really get that childhood where I was out, got to go to the games, to the dances, to a lot of events. I didn't get to go to the movies, skating ring, none of that, because I had to stay home with them. And then as I became a teenager, I'm realizing, hey, there's a lot of things that I'm missing out on. My neighbors, my friends, they telling me about all these good things they doing and having all this fun. And so I'm wondering what's that like. I want to experience that and just have that fun that they were having. Well, one of my neighbors in particular that I hung with, she was very friendly with the boys. And one day I'm by her and she's describing an experience to me, and I'm like, wow. and it sounds very intriguing. I've always been curious, so my curiosity got the best of me, and I figured it out. I found out what it was about. In me finding out what it was about, I wound up pregnant. First experience, and now here I am, 13 and pregnant. So, honor roll student, I'm pregnant, my dad's upset. It was definitely a hard time. It was a very hard time. In saying that, this is where Rocky is born. This is where Rocky, that fighter, is truly born. Being 13, pregnant, in school, my dad being upset, just that look, and that, that shame, she should have known better, or whatever the case may be, that was a tough cookie. I want to talk about Rocky the fighter. I've always been a fighter. I was told that I always had that, you can't tell me what to do, I'm going to do what I want to do attitude. And I guess I always have. I have an older cousin, and she was like, girl, you always been like that. So, but Rocky the fighter, in school I was fighting. Now that I think about it and look back on it, my dad told me he liked to fight. That might be why my brother used to like to fight, and he and I used to fight all the time. But that real fight, that fight in life, being 13, pregnant, that was a fight. That was a battle. Having a child, being a young teenage mom, trying to navigate life, feel my way through, still in school, trying to figure out, am I going to finish school? What am I going to do as an adult, and how am I going to take care of this child? That was a fight, and that's where Rocky the fighter was born. So I'd say that definitely having my child, my first child, made me. It definitely made me. It changed who I was, because that was a different fight. I had to fight for her, and I had to fight for me. And I knew that I wanted her to have everything that I didn't have. I didn't want her to endure some of the things that I endured. So that meant that I had to go hard. I had to go harder. And in that fight, I had her. I continued in school. Then around 17, I got sick. I was in a hospital, had a couple of emergency room visits to the hospital. Doctors didn't know what was wrong with me. And every time I went, I felt like I was dying. It was an excruciating pain that was worse than having a child. Come to find out, I had gallstones, and by the time they figured out what was wrong with me, the gallstones were like the size of a golf ball. So I had to have an emergency surgery. To have that surgery, I dropped out of school because I was sick, and like I said, in the hospital a lot, had the surgery, recovered, and then I got my GED and went to college. Let me rewind. Before I went to college, I got married my ex-husband, had my second child, then I went to college. That was a fight, going to college, because nobody around me was educated, and they was like, what you going to school for? You ain't gonna never be nothing. You ain't gonna do nothing with no degree. So I got a lot of negativity for going to school. Going to school, I'm on the dean's list. I'm taking the max in the classes every semester, because when I calculated the time, it didn't add up to an associate's degree in 2 years. So full-time semester, full-time summer courses, so that I can graduate on time. Graduated, moved to Virginia with my ex-husband. He was Navy, so we moved to his house in Virginia. That move was another fight. Getting married, being married, you get married and you think it's forever, so you try and do everything to make it last, and you made this commitment, and this is my husband. So you go out your way to do the best you can, and let's make this work, let's figure it out. But there's some things that you just can't get past, some things you just can't figure out, some pains that you just can't get over. So moved to Virginia. I'm in Virginia for about 2 weeks. And then my ex-husband, he leaves, goes back to Louisiana because he had to take care of some business. So I'm left in Virginia for about a month, 3 weeks to a month by myself, having to learn a city with kids. So at this time, I have 2 daughters of my own. I have custody of my 2 sisters, and I have 2 stepsons. So I got 6 kids, 22 years old, with a minivan, trying to navigate the city of Norfolk. Started working, figured out the time, befriended a lady at an African shop. She and I are still good friends today. But I figured it out. And that's that fighter, that's that warrior inside of me. And it wasn't easy. It definitely wasn't easy. In that time, my husband, at the time, things changed. When he came back, he started behaving differently. I didn't know what was going on with him. And he didn't want to work. He didn't want to do anything. He didn't want to do anything around the house. And I'm trying to figure out, like, what the hell is going on? So I'm going through these motions. I'm having to take care of these kids. I'm working a full-time job. And the man I'm with is not supporting me. He's not taking care of what he should be taking care of at the house, in addition to not working. So in that, I'm like, what do you do for me? What do you actually do for me? I can't get you to cut the grass. I can't get you to change the oil. I can't get you to change the tire. I can't get you to do nothing, and that's not what I signed up for. So we wound up splitting. He wound up coming to stay with me, and then that's when there was the domestic violence. So after he beat me, and we split, I went to the military base. Somebody told me, they said, you need to go to the military base and let them know what's going on, what happened. So I go to the military base, I let them know what's going on, and so they told me exactly what to do. They say, well, baby, if you stay in it for this amount of more time, then you can get this, and you can be allocated that. And all of that sounded good, but I just wanted my peace. I didn't want to be with him any longer. I didn't want to be in that anymore. I just wanted to be free. So I did file spousal support. I filed a protection order, and whatever else they told me to do, I did it. And so we were apart. Now I'm trying to pick up the pieces and get back to work with an injury with these kids. In doing that, he started stalking me. He started watching the house. And I'm getting people calling me. They're like, hey, somebody's watching your house. And I'm like, oh my God. Peeping out the window, and he's sitting at the corner. In addition to that, he starts calling child protection. So my neighbor would watch my kids for me when I had to go to work or had somewhere to go. And she stayed upstairs from me. To get to her apartment, you didn't have to go outside. You just go through the stairs on the inside. So when he didn't see my car at home, he would call child protection and tell them I wasn't home, or I don't know how he'd do it or would he do it, but I'd be home. They're calling me like, hey, we got a report that you left your children in the house by themselves. So that happened on 2 occasions. After the second time, I'm like, you know what, I'm not about to keep playing with this man. So the second time he did it, which was about 2 weeks from the first time, they called me, came to the house, so I was there with my kids, did a check of the house, all that good stuff. That was like a Tuesday. By Thursday, I had then packed up my car, I had then put a trailer hitch on there, I got a U-Haul, and I went back to Louisiana. So I'm like, I'm not about to keep doing this. This man is watching my house, he playing with me, he trying to get my children taken away from me. No, so I moved back home. I said goodbye. I didn't say goodbye to like nobody. I just did what I had to do, got on the road, moved back to Louisiana. On the way to Louisiana, I'm going through, I want to say Covington, Georgia. A young lady rear ends me. So I'm in my minivan, pulling a U-Haul trailer, young girl, 18-year-old, driving a big old F-150, runs dead in the back of me. The U-Haul trailer that's attached to the van spent the vehicle around. It went on one side of the highway, and we went through the median on the other side of the highway. So that was a mess. I done lost all the little bitty things I did grab to move back home. Now we stuck in Covington, Georgia, don't know nobody, staying at a hotel, trying to figure out how to get home and where are our belongings. So my aunt, she knew somebody out there. They came and got us and drove us all the way to Slidell, Louisiana. So get to Louisiana, I don't have anything. I just lost my vehicle. I just lost all my belongings. I'm starting completely over again with 2 kids. I wound up getting a vehicle because the insurance had to pay for the vehicle. They had to pay for the damages and all that good stuff. Get back on my feet. So this is 2004, February 2004. I'm back in Slidell. Wound up getting a place, got a vehicle, starting all over again from scratch. Me and my kids. Now I'm a single parent for the first time. I mean, really for the first time, having to figure this out. Being back home, I'm getting reacquainted with everybody. I wound up getting a place on Carey Street. My old best friend moved in with me and the kids. Then I wound up meeting a guy from New Orleans. We get together and wound up moving to Georgia. Ironically, I took a job offer in Waco, Georgia, relocated right before Hurricane Katrina. I relocated maybe 6 months prior. And I thank God that I did relocate and that I was there and situated, because when Hurricane Katrina hit, I was able to be there for my family and they had a place to come and stay as they transitioned and figured out their next steps in life. So that was a blessing to be able to be there for them. So Hurricane Katrina hits. The guy I'm dating now, he goes down to work, do the cleanup for Hurricane Katrina. He comes back, and now I'm pregnant. I end up pregnant with my last daughter. So I remember it was Thanksgiving and my stomach's hurting. I've done cooked all this food. I can't eat nothing. Nothing would go down. And I'm like, what is going on? So I'm drinking a beer. I'm like, let me drink a beer, see if this works. Stomach still hurting after the beer. I tried to put something on my stomach, wouldn't hold it down. So I'm like, man, what is going on? So I get a pregnancy test. The pregnancy test come out positive. I'm in denial. Ain't no way I'm pregnant, because at this time I have a 12-year-old. No, I got an 11-year-old and a 5-year-old. So there's no way I'm pregnant. Probably got about 4 or 5 pregnancy tests, and one day I'm at work and I'm weak. I can barely stand. They're like, you need to go to the hospital. So I go to the emergency room and they wind up doing a scope and they're like, oh yes, you are definitely pregnant. I'm like, oh my God. I didn't have any plans on having any more kids. I'm in college. I got my life figured out. I got my plan. Look, I ain't got time for another baby. I ain't got time for it. So here I am pregnant with my last daughter, and didn't want to be pregnant. I was good with my 2 kids, but here now we are. And maybe for that reason, I'll tell you, I couldn't stand her daddy the whole pregnancy. I couldn't stand him at all. My whole body rejected him. I couldn't stand him so much. So I have my last daughter, and then when she was about a month or so, found out that he's cheating. He's dating the neighbor, the ex-neighbor or something like that, and so I'm like, I'm not about to play these games. So then he getting so comfortable, he riding the girl around in my car. I'm in college at this time, so he taking the car to go be with the girl, wanting to drop me off at school. I got to catch the train to get to school. So these are the type of games he playing. He having fun, I'm trying to get a college education. So for Easter, the young lady he was dating, she files her taxes. So at this time, I'm knowing what's going on. I done had a conversation with the girl. I know the girl because she was the neighbor's sister, what have you. And so it's about, yeah, the young lady files her taxes. And so he comes to bring me this card. And he say, look, Easter coming up, go on and get the kids something for Easter, and just bring me the card back. I said, okay, all right, but how much can I spend? Just don't do too much, don't spend too much. I said, okay. So I take this card, and at this time, this is when the first little prepaid cards came out that they was putting money on. So he gave me the card and he gave me the PIN number. So I'm like, cool, I'm gonna, take the kids shopping for Easter and everything. Well, what actually happened is he gives me the card, he go to work, he was working nights, he come home, go to sleep. I take the card, I take the kids, I tell him we going to the laundromat. I packed up our clothes in the laundry baskets, and I said, we going to the laundromat, I'll see you later when you get up. I took the laundry baskets, I took my kids, we got on the road, and I went to Louisiana. I just kept going. So this young lady that he's dating, she funded the trip, and I bought my kids everything they wanted for Easter, and I got back to Louisiana, and that was the end of that. That was the end of that. So moved back to Louisiana again, starting over again with nothing, because I left everything in Riverdale, Georgia, where we wound up at. At this time, we stayed in a FEMA trailer for the first couple of months. Me and my kids stayed in a FEMA trailer, because this is after Hurricane Katrina. Then we wound up moving to a spot in Pearl River. Not too long after that, I took a job in Baton Rouge, relocated, stayed out there. So now it's 2007. I'm moving back to Louisiana. I took a job right outside of Baton Rouge, running a truck stop out there, moved my kids out there right off of Essen. And that was definitely an experience. That was an experience. I hadn't been in Louisiana in a while. And I didn't know nothing about Baton Rouge. I knew a little bit about New Orleans, but I didn't know anything about Baton Rouge. So I thought I moved in a nice area, and it was okay. It was okay. At least it looked okay in the daytime. I moved to Baton Rouge. Had no idea Baton Rouge was as rough as it was, and my daughter winds up hanging with a girl nearby, and now she want to be all grown. I think at this time she's about 12, 14, 13, 14, something like that. So she's 13, 14, hanging with these kids on the block, and she want to be grown and want to talk back, and I ain't doing this, and I'ma do this, and want to hang out late, and all that type of stuff. And so I'm like, okay. One time in particular, I don't even remember the details of how it happened, but I wound up jumping on her pretty bad. And then I told her to get out my house. You want to be grown, get your grown ass out my house, put out my house. And then I called the police and reported what I did. And I told them, look, I put out, I know she around this neighborhood, y'all watch my baby. So he was like, well, ma'am, where you from? And I told him where I was from. He said, look, this is no place to raise a teenager. You need to take these kids and go back to where you're from, because this is rough out here. And I'm like, dang, for the police to tell me to take my children back to where I'm from and not raise them here in Baton Rouge, that spoke volumes. So that's what I proceeded to do. That's what I proceeded to do. I was selling insurance at the time. I'm working full-time job. I started remodeling a house that we had back home in Slidell. On my days off, I would go to Slidell, remodel the house. And then a few months later, we moved to Slidell. I relocated my kids so that they can be back by their family and grow up with their cousins and get to know them and all that good stuff. So moved back to Slidell. This is 2009. I think it's 2009, maybe 2010. My daughter, I wound up taking a lower paying position so that I can be there for my daughter, spend more time with her, see her graduate. I remember one day I overheard her talking. She was talking to somebody, and I heard her say, my mom ain't never around, she always working. And it just crushed me. It crushed me. I'm like, oh my God, I'm working so much that I'm not paying attention to my children. I'm not there, I'm not giving them the time that they need. So I took a lower paying position, took a step down so that I could be there more. and give her that high school experience that she wanted, and just be there to support her. So when she was a senior, she got a car. I bought her a Cadillac CTS. She pretty much tore it up, but she had a car in high school, had a huge graduation party. She graduated, and I was just so proud of her, so proud of her. My baby done graduated, she done overcame, she done made it, So that was definitely an experience, having a 17-year-old graduating high school, and all the things I had to overcome to get her to that point, all the things she had to overcome being a child of a child, and we're growing and learning together. All the things I just mentioned, all the back and forth in this relationship and that relationship, everything I went through, everything I've been through, she's been right there with me. And it definitely hasn't been easy. It wasn't easy. There are things that she deals with as a result of me not knowing, me learning, me trying to figure out how to be a mother, how to be the best mother I can be under different circumstances. Today, she and I are very close. She and I are very close. I think probably no one understands me as much as she understands me, because she's seen all the struggles, she's seen all the fights, she's seen all the battles, she's seen me overcome, she's seen me stand, she's seen me take the bruises, she's seen me, she's been there, she's seen it all, and today I can definitely say that we're helping to heal each other through the pain and through the trauma, that we're there for each other, and we're learning a lot about ourselves together. We're continuing to grow together. She's my right-hand man. She's my ace. She's my go-to. In saying that fighter, Rocky, my daughter, my oldest daughter, she's been there every step of the way. Like I said, having her at a young age, that brought out the Rocky in me. That brought out the fighter in me. And like on The Color Purple, Celia say, all my life I had to fight. I've been fighting, and I'm gonna keep fighting. I'm gonna keep fighting for me. I'm gonna keep fighting for my children, for my family. I'm gonna keep fighting for my goals, for my dreams, for the things that God has shown me, as the visions that God has shown me. I'm gonna keep fighting for those things as long as I got air and breath inside of me. I'm gonna keep fighting. Because that's all I know. All I know is to fight for what I want. All I know is to go hard. All I know is to go get it. That's all I know, and so that's what I do. When I first started this podcast, a lot of people were like, what you gonna talk about business? What you gonna talk about real estate? What part of your business you gonna talk about? And I said, I could talk about business, but there's so many great people doing a great job talking about business right now. And when I have conversations with women, yes, we talk about business, we talk about our businesses, we talk about making money, but there's something so much deeper that I want to touch. There's something so much deeper that I want to relate to in women that I also hear in those conversations. In those conversations, what I get is I hear the pain. I hear I'm trying to put this business together and put a business plan together, but my kids this, or the man I'm with this, he acting up and we can't save the money, and whatever the case may be, these are the stories that I'm hearing. And what that does is, if this is what I'm going through in my personal life, this rolls over into my business life, and now I can't perform. Now I can't be successful in the business. Now I done lost the business, So I want to actually reach women on a deeper level, because overall, I just see as women, we're hurting. I feel a lot of pain as I talk to women. There's a lot of unresolved issues that we carry around with us every single day, and then things happen and people say things to us because they're hurting and they don't know how to be kind, and now we're triggered. We get triggered, and they're wondering, oh, why is she acting like that? Oh, she's an angry black woman, but they have no idea the trauma that this woman has gone through, no idea of what she's dealing with at home every day, but she come here and put on a smile and make everything work and do her job and perform in spite of. So those are the stories that touched my heart that led to her story. And I just want to highlight those women, and I want to be that voice. They can't speak their stories at this time. They may not be ready, but for those that can't and that aren't ready, I'm here telling my story to give you courage to tell your story, but also to encourage you in whatever you may be going through. I spoke about a lot of different situations that I was just in, and that was just in my 20s. I ain't even hit 30 yet in this story that I just shared. A lot of those situations was due to a man, due to a bad relationship. And I remember, since I had girls, I never wanted them to see me with a man and believe that if what he and I shared, if it wasn't love, I didn't want them to believe that that's what love was. So if I'm in a relationship and this man is mistreating me and he's misbehaving and he's running the street or whatever the case may be, this is not the reflection I want to show my children. I don't want them to believe that this is what a real man is. And so, you know, those things will have a lot to do with my decisions. I'm also a big believer in sometimes you have to do some drastic things for people to understand where you're coming from, for them to get your point of view. And in those relationships, I can definitely say I did some drastic things because they may not have heard me or not understood, didn't take me serious, didn't believe that I meant what I said. So, okay, I done told you this every which way I can tell you. So you don't believe me, we going through these motions over and over again. You ain't trying to fix this, it ain't getting no better. So I'm gonna have to show you better than I can tell you. So I've done some drastic things. So most of my relationships, when they ended, I left the state. I just left the state, whoop, I'm starting all over again. So I have started over again from scratch probably 4 or 5 times. I've lived in, this is the 6th state that I've lived in. At this point in my life, I've done it so many times, it's nothing to do it again. However, I don't want to do it again. But if it's necessary for my peace, I will do it again in a heartbeat, you know. And we have to be courageous enough and fearless enough to make those decisions for us. We have to, we just have to, you know, if you're in a situation that doesn't serve you, that doesn't support your goals and your dreams, that doesn't uplift you. As women, we go through so many different stages in life. I can definitely say I feel like I've lived several different lives. I've worn a whole lot of different hats in my life. I've been a daughter, I'm a mother, I'm a sister, I've been a wife, I'm a businesswoman, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm an artist, I'm so many different things. I'm so multifaceted, and my story is multifaceted as well. All these different roles, these different hats I've worn. We try to figure out how to navigate through life and appease everybody, be there for everybody, and be what everybody is looking for us to be in their lives. And that can be overwhelming while trying to figure out who you are and figure out where you're going and who you want to be and the things that you want. Sometimes you got to kind of silence the noise. Sometimes you have to shut some things off in order to find yourself, to be one with yourself. Like the Bible says, sometimes you just have to be still and listen. And I can definitely say that through all of my trials and tribulations, all my different battles, that I take that time to be still, that even in my backsliding and what have you, and not being active in church, you know, I still have a relationship with God. I still pray. I'm still in conversation with God about the things going on in my life. And in saying that, my faith is what's kept me, what's carried me all this time. My faith, my relationship with God, the things I've been through, I know that God favors me. I know that God has a purpose, a plan that's greater than the plan that I have for myself. And at this point in my life, I'm just wanting to walk into that destiny. I'm walking into that destiny, walking in faith, and just trusting in what God is showing me, the things that He's revealing me and the visions that He's shown me. In my life, I've come to the understanding that just take things slow, totally trust in God, not lean to my own understanding. In the Bible, it speaks of being in this world, but not of this world. And ever since I was a young girl, I knew that I was different. I used to actually read the Bible as a child, and we spent a lot of time in church. My mom, I remember we went to a lot of different churches. It seemed like she was trying to fill a void in her life. We went to Jehovah's Witness, Seventh-day Adventist, Pentecostal, Presbyterian. It's another one started with an E. I don't know what that one is. Evangelist or something like that. Holiness Church, Church of God. We went to all of them. But I actually wanted to know, because I remember reading in the Bible, it said, "Thy word I had hid in my heart, that I may not sin against God." So it was important to me to know the word. It was also important to me to always have a song in my heart. And I learned that in the church that I grew up in New Life Church. I learned that with the elder women, and they spent time with me. At that time, that's when I was pregnant with my daughter, with my first child. And it was the women in the church that comforted me and encouraged me and just let me know that it was going to be okay. And they were there for me whenever I needed them. And we studied together, we communed together. I looked at them like, another mother, like my aunts, because they were always there and they always looked out for me. And they knew I was a young mother with a child, so they had a special place in their heart for me. But that time in my life, it definitely grew my faith. It made me so much more stronger in the fight that I had before me, in the walk that I was going to walk. And that made a huge difference in those next years, getting married and moving away, having to be alone in a state that I'd never been in, didn't know anything about. It was my faith that carried me all of those years. I didn't really have mom. Mama wasn't there. We didn't have a relationship. I had been moved away. My grandmother wasn't there, so I really didn't have a woman to lean to and talk to and ask questions and, well, what you think about this, and what should I do? None of those type of things. So I had to figure out a lot of things on my own and navigate on my own and lean to my own understanding. And honestly, I was probably naive in a lot of different situations, a lot of circumstances I had never encountered, that I encountered being alone and being naive. But what I always did is I tried to educate myself and make an educated decision in whatever it was that was going on. If I'm being totally honest, I can say having 3 daughters, being a teenage mom, getting married and going through the things I went through in my marriage, I'm pretty certain I was maybe a little too hard on my daughters. Because I remember I would tell them, if I did this at 14, if I've been on my own since I was 14, then I expect so much more of you girls. So I can definitely say I held them to a different standard. I pushed them very hard. But I wanted to teach them about life, because I didn't want them to get out there and experience life and have to go through some of the things I went through. I wanted them to be aware of what was ahead of them. So I spoke pretty, I was pretty blunt. I was very blunt in raising them and talking to them about life. But I'd always tell them, you're going to come to a situation in life where you're not going to have anybody. And in that time, you need to have a relationship with God and know how to call on God to make it through that. Because that's all I had so many times in my life. And I remember one time, oh my God, I didn't know what to do. I didn't try everything my way. I didn't try it every which way but God's way. And I came to a moment where I just couldn't do nothing else. I remember I was in the car and I just broke down in tears and just crying and just in prayer. But more so like, God, I need you to guide me through this. I need guidance, Lord. I need you to show me what I'm supposed to do, and I need you to make it clear. Because at that time, I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know to go left, right, up, down, frontwards, backwards. I was just confused. And I'll definitely tell you that when you pray and you seek and you ask and you're diligent and you have ears to hear and eyes to see, and you just take some time to be still, you'll get those answers. And then God confirms those answers in addition. So over the years with my daughters, I was definitely hard on them. I pushed them a lot. I pushed them in school because I was an honor roll student, so I really wasn't accepting low grades. You know, I knew where they came from, so I pushed them in school. I pushed them in athletics. My oldest daughter, she did everything. Anything we could sign up for, we signing up for it. You doing it. And so with her being the oldest, she like, okay. And then them other two come along, and they like, it's too hot, Mom. It's too hot. I can't do all of that. I don't want to jump. I don't want to run. They didn't want to do anything, but they did. They are musically inclined, and the other one, she's an artist, very computer literate. But I definitely, in saying that, they became very independent. They became very independent. And because I raised them like I raised them, I'm confident in what they do and their decisions because I know what I gave them, they're never going to stray from it. I know how tough they are and how strong they are because I know where they came from. So when they're going through it, you know, I'm there. I thank God that I have the opportunity to be there with them, to support them along the way because I didn't have that. I didn't have my mom beside me giving me advice and supporting me and say, hey, you can do this, and this is how you do it. But I definitely thank God that I have that opportunity to be here with all of my girls, to watch them grow and blossom and support them in however they need support. Speaking about my daughters, I raised 3 strong, independent young ladies, and I'm so very proud of them and the women that they're becoming and the growth that they made. You know, I can definitely say it wasn't no peaches and cream having 3 daughters, 3 attitudes, 3 drama queens. It wasn't no walk in the park, but we made it through and we stuck it out together. And me and all 3 of my daughters are close. We talk all the time. We have a very good relationship now. I created 3 warriors. Three little fighters. Well, they're not little because they're grown now, but they are reflections of that fight that I fought all those years. They watch me fight. They've seen me be strong. They've watched the things I've gone through, and I know to them I'm Superwoman because that's what I get to call. I always get to call Mama one call. That's all. Mama gonna make it happen. So you know, I know I'm their hero and I'm Superwoman to them because I'm gonna make it happen no matter what. And that's that fighter. That is Rocky. That's just that fighter inside of me that's always been there. I can say at times she's had to show up more than others, but that fighter is always there no matter what. And Rocky, that fighter in me, that fighter is in all of us. That fighter is in all of us to keep pursuing, to keep pushing, to be resilient, to be relentless, to keep going no matter what. When everybody's trying to put you down, when your family's trying to put you down, when the ones you love aren't there for you, we all have that Rocky in us. We all have that fighter inside of us. Now, whether we activate that fight or not, whether we activate that person inside of us that we've been holding back and being complacent because we want to play along to get along, and we in this situation that we've been in a little bit too long and it ain't getting no better, it's just steady getting worse. Sometimes it takes different situations to activate that fighter, but I want you to know that we all have that fight inside of us. We all have that lion spirit inside of us. I think some people, that spirit may be lying dormant because of different situations they've been in. Some of us have been taught to just get along, to just go along and not speak up and not have a voice, not speak your opinion. But it's important that you do. It's important that we recognize that fighter inside of us, that we recognize that lion spirit, that Rocky inside of us to keep fighting, fighting for our goals, fighting for those visions and those dreams that we have inside of us. Because your dreams and your visions were given to you. They were specifically given to you. So it's not for everybody to know. It's not for you to share it with everybody, but you take your vision and you run with your vision and you nurture that vision and you push for your dreams. And that's Rocky the fighter. So I'm steady fighting. I'm steady pushing. I have huge dreams. I have very big goals. And that's all I know. That's all I know. So I'm going forward at this point in my life. I've done everything else. I've done almost everything else but fight for myself. So at this time, I'm fighting for me. I'm fighting for my dreams. I'm fighting for my future. I'm fighting for my family. And that's where I'm at. That's in summary, that's her story. I know I said a whole lot tonight. And I want you to be encouraged. Whatever it is that you're going through, be encouraged, be empowered to keep fighting. Every day is a new day. Every day you have an opportunity to start fresh and start over again. Every day I'm trying new things to pursue what it is that I'm trying to have and to get closer to my dreams. So I encourage you to do the same thing. Keep on pushing, keep on fighting. Please like, share, follow her story on Facebook and Instagram, and I look forward to seeing you next week. I hope that this episode, well, no, not next week. I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks for our next episode. I hope that somehow this episode encouraged you, inspired, empowered, and uplifted you in one form or another. And if it did, share and inspire, encourage someone else that they may get what you got from this podcast. My story is not about me. Yes, it's my story and I lived it, and it was definitely a whirlwind. But at this point, my story is about who it's gonna help, who it's gonna encourage, who it will help to open up and come out of the same closet that I've been in, to move on and actually start living, to live their life in their purpose, in their fullness. So that's what her story is about, and that's what I offer. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks for watching.